Welcome to the Ask the Expert session. My name is Carla Bundick, Director of Business Development with SmithLife Homecare Community. I am here with our honored guest, Shawn Perry, Executive Producer and radio host of The Senior Zone, a weekly radio program dedicated to serving the needs of the older adult community. And I'll introduce him more in depth in just a moment. I'd like to mention that SmithLife Homecare Ask the Expert series focuses on providing valuable information and resources to our community while helping them age in place. We are a sister community with Charles E. Smith Life Communities, another trusted brand for elder care in the community for over 110 years. We serve the Washington, D.C. and Montgomery County areas. We're excited today to discuss the many ways the Senior Zone radio show is providing families and older adults with significant support and resources. So welcome, Shawn. It is great to see you and nice to meet you for the first time.
It's my pleasure to meet you as well, Carla. I'm honored to be here. I'm excited. So let's just get right into it because I got a little bit of nervousness on my part, Carla.
No worries.
I have a lot to share in a short period of time.
Okay. I couldn't even tell. Shawn, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I can. That's a complicated question. It's a long response. I'll try to give you my Cliff Notes version. I'm a husband. I'm a father of four. I'm a retired military guy, of 22 years in the Air Force. I'm a native New Yorker, a Queens, New York kid. Love baseball, love golf, and many more facets to my life. But I value, integrity. That's pristine and primary in my life. I strive for excellence, not perfection, but just striving to be excellent in all that I do. And Carla, I learned this, and I learned this during my service in the Air Force, just putting myself in the service of others, and before myself is what is part of who I found out myself to be, is part of my core, part of my DNA.
Thank you so much. And first, thank you so much for your service. We always appreciate that.
Thank you.
I appreciate you just, your integrity in what you share with us. Tell us how you came up with this fantastic idea of starting the Senior Zone.
That's always a very popular question that I receive, Carla. Good question. And if I'm allowed, some time, I was raised by a grandmother. And so it was instilled in me very early on, just respect and reverence for our older adults, our frail and our vulnerable, folks, the least of us. And so I've carried that with me and throughout my entire life until I came into a position in my life where I wanted to provide a place, a trusted place, a place of comfort for our older adult community. And the brainchild of the Senior Zone, to a person that doesn't even like to speak publicly, was dropped in my lap, in my spirit. And I decided, instead of saying no, because my instinct was to say no to that, I said yes. And it was a yes 10 years ago this time. And I'm so happy that I acted on it because, here we are 10 years later into the Senior Zone, a forum of connection. I hope it's a place where it inspires other older adults to reimagine themselves, reinvent themselves, just revisit old thoughts and see if they're able to conquer those thoughts and fears that they may have had in their past life, but they're now better positioned to do so. So, it's the Senior Zone is my baby. You probably sense it from me. We try to just empower and educate and enlighten, our older adults throughout, this community, and it's expanded beyond the DMV as well.
There's just something organic about having a personal experience. I think that helps to make you just become successful at spearheading a project like this. It comes from a personal place, so I understand that. And I'm sure your audience is saying, thank you for saying yes to the opportunity as well. Can you tell us a little bit about the radio show and other shows that you have?
Sure. Well, the Senior Zone is a weekly radio program. We air every Monday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on a small radio station, I would say. It's called WYCB 1340 a.m. If you're here in the District of Columbia. If you're outside of the area, you can stream us at myspiritdc.com each Monday at 10 o'clock. And so that's the I don't know, just where you can find us and how you can you can find us each Monday. But we're just dedicated to serving our older adults. It's just something about me. And now that I'm making my transition, Carla, into my seniorhood, this information that I share about is certainly coming into practice for me as I'm approaching my Social Security years and preparing for Medicare and things like that. Even how I am thinking about downsizing, our house here and just preparing it for, that next, stage in my life's journey. I'm benefiting from the content that I provide, via the Senior Zone.
That's awesome. Can you tell us about your audience? Who listens to you, Shawn?
Oh, that's
demographic.
Demographically, well, mostly women. You guys tend to live longer than us men, still, right? So it's mostly women, African American, if I had to say as well. But just it's moved beyond the Beltway, limits. First it was DC, then Montgomery and Prince George's County.
Nice.
I get emails now, Carla, each and every week. It's not a lot, but I get emails from folks around the country. When are you going to bring this to Boston? I got an email from a state senator recently down in North Carolina. When are you going to bring, and it's an event that I do, your senior spa day down to North Carolina. It's just random, organic things like that, that just reinforces and validates what we're doing that I know is good if people want more of it and they want it. It just gives me that, I don't know, that extra win.
It's nice to hear that. I love to hear examples of how the show or a guest on the show have impacted someone's life. I'm sure you have a connection with many of your listeners. Can you share maybe a couple of your most impactful guests to you? They impacted you and you knew that it went somewhere to touch other people.
Well, one guest, this is for me and my benefit, and I hope that it's benefited our listeners. So when I first started the Senior Zone, Carla, I didn't come into this space with any radio background. I don't have any journalism experience. As I mentioned, I don't even like to speak in public. And I had a lot of anxiety around, this project that I decided to say yes to. And so I operated under that sort of anxiety for a few years until I had a guest, a very well-known guest here in the DC, around the country, certainly in the African-American community, a Hall of Fame, a radio personality, Mr. Donnie Simpson. And I had him on my show. You know of him? I'm sure.
Very well.
And I had him as a guest, in studio. He came alone, he was by himself, no entourage. He came an hour early, and it was just he and I, and just talking. And I was nervous at first, Carla, right? I had this iconic figure to me anyway. And I just started asking him about things, about how do you overcome, or when did you overcome the anxiety that I was feeling? And he told me something as simple as it was, but profound nonetheless, that he learned early on that no one could be better at being Donnie Simpson than Donnie Simpson, right? Just be Shawn Perry. No one can outdo Shawn Perry at being Shawn Perry. And I just remember just a lot of just, the air, that
weight
anxiety.
Lifted.
Just weight lifted off of my shoulders. And from then on, it allowed me to be who I was and more relevant, because I no longer ran from imperfections. I I lose my train of thought sometimes, right? And I would share that in those vulnerabilities with my listeners, and many would call and just say simply, stop it. You're fine the way you are. We're grateful that we have a platform, right? A forum where someone like yourself is putting out good and useful information. And so I stopped worrying about my ummas caller, because I used to count them when
Mhm.
I first started the show. And I don't worry about that nonsense anymore. I just try to keep it real and stay, true to why I started the Senior Zone. And that's just a place where, regular folk, right?
Yes,
The horizontal folks, not the vertical folks, the
right.
horizontal folks
Yes.
can just come and know that they're getting trusted information. And I don't put out anything, caller, on the Senior Zone that I
Yes.
wouldn't introduce to my own mama.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Donnie's impactful to me, and just a simple conversation made a difference in your life. And there's so many of us who have that little bit of anxiety about just everyday things.
Yeah,
So it's nice to hear that, because
yeah,
that touches other people
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. Well, we all have our favorite parts of our jobs. Can you tell me your favorite part of hosting the Senior Zone, or just the radio show itself?
Sure. Well, my favorite part of the show is actually not on air. It's what I do off air with the Senior Zone. And it's an event that I do, and I do it monthly. And it's called the Senior Spa Day. I call it my Senior Spa Day. And
Nice.
this is a community supported event where, while I may get the recognition from this, we give away free haircuts, free manicures, free, what do you call it, cosmetology or makeup services
Mhm.
for those that want it. And we wrap that around a host of services that are applicable to our older adult community. And then while they're waiting and getting their information, we have some kind of entertainment and lunch provided for our seniors that come. And they come, in droves. Hundreds of folks come to that event once a month.
Very
And
nice.
I didn't realize how impactful it was. I kind of had an idea, caller, but it was a gentleman of, and it was mostly women come to this event, but it was a gentleman that walked up to me and he put his arms around me, and it still brings up emotions within me. But he says, "You don't know how much me," talking about him,
Yes.
saving $20 for a haircut, how that helps him out so much each month.
Yes.
So
Yes.
for a person on low income or fixed income,
Mhm.
maybe getting $700-800 a month. Out of that, they got to provide housing and food and
Yes.
medicine and everything else. They have to live off of that. So
Mhm.
$20 goes a long, long way.
Yes.
And it just reinforced. I will never forget, that gentleman. I don't know his name, but I will never
Mhm.
forget that moment, because it brought tears to my eyes. I got emotional
Yes.
with that. And I know that it's helping out folks, the least of these, as I mentioned before,
Absolutely.
the vulnerable, the frail. And so it's my Senior Spa Day. It's my baby. It's work. Don't get me wrong now.
Yes.
It's work to
Yes.
do it, but I
Sure.
love it. I love it. And but without the Senior Zone, my on-air presence, we wouldn't
Mhm.
have had the opportunity, right, to most likely do the Senior Spa Day in the way that we're doing it, because it takes a community. So
Yes, it
from
does.
talking about the vertical community, from
Mhm.
mayor's office in the District of Columbia, Department of
Mhm.
Recs, Department of Aging, and all the folks on the ground, the volunteers that we get to do that, all come out faithfully to do that, as well as the volunteers, the nail technicians, the barbers,
Yes.
and the
I was
hairstylists.
about to say, you have to have volunteers to help make it all come together. It's not a
Absolutely.
project you can do on your own, for sure.
Not at all, not at
Yeah.
all. But you asked that question, and that's my baby. That's where I get my joy
Thank
from.
you. Thank you for sharing that. It has just been such a pleasure, Shawn, just learning from you, hearing your passion, the way you contribute to the community, the senior community especially. It's a community who sometimes just doesn't know where to go for resources, or how to turn, to the next person that can help them. So thank you so much for what you've done. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, a mouthful, Carla. I'm sure. But no, I thank you for this opportunity. I'm still not accustomed to being interviewed, right? The interviewer, but I just thank you for allowing me the opportunity to promote, the Senior Zone
Absolutely.
on your
Yes.
platform, to share what we do for our older adults. We are a champion of the older adult
Yes.
community. That's not going to change, and so thank you for this opportunity. My grandmother is looking down on me right now, who raised me, and I'm sure with a smile. So thank you for the
Amen. I'm
smile.
sure. I'm sure she is.
Yeah,
Share with us one more time how we can reach you. The website, I think you mentioned.
sure. The website is theseniorzone.com. So www.theseniorzone.com, like what you see over my shoulder here. You can listen to us every Monday on WYCB 1340 AM from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're outside of the DC area and you want to stream, just go to myspiritdc.com.
Thank you so much. We will be tuning in. Thank you, Shawn, for your time. It's been a pleasure.
I enjoyed it.